Hey everyone, join me as we make this boat. What I'm doing here is I've sped this up because this process takes quite a bit of time, but to get the pigment in the place that I want and have the recipe totally clear, I'm basically painting this beautiful blue by Eye Candy Pigments called No-Con on the boat itself using just a detailing paintbrush. And it takes quite a bit of time to do this. You don't necessarily have to have the steadiest hands, but you do have to be patient. And accidents are going to happen. Little fluffy parts of the pigment are going to fly off the brush and they're going to get on the mold. So that's where you will see me come in with tape to go around the edge or wherever they tend to fly on the mold, and that's the easiest way to get them off because they stick to the mold, and you'll get it off without smearing or anything like that, like right there. So I take those off so that way when I do my pour, the pigment will only be on the rope section itself and won't show up anywhere else. Now, when you're doing this, it's not always perfect. It takes a lot of time and a lot of practice, but you get better. And I just happened to get really lucky with this project. It was a pretty simple and straightforward design, so it didn't really involve too much detail, and it was just easy to go in and with the tape and take it off where I needed to. As for the tape that I'm using, some people use Scotch tape, they use painter's tape. It depends on the mold that you have and what they suggest. This one's just a regular mold. It's not one of the higher end molds, so you can use anything on it, and I prefer to use packaging tape because it is stronger and it's stickier and it just gets it off faster, it lasts longer. So that's what I'm doing here when I'm, kind of coloring out of the lines or the bit or the pigment goes flying. That's the tape that I'm using. And I'll go around and paint or color in all the rope and then go around and make sure there's no pigment anywhere else before I pour. This tape is also the same thing that I use whenever I demold and I need to get any little resin pieces off. Ooh, the pour, the most important part of resin crafting. You will see, I didn't speed this up because I wanted you to see how slow I'm pouring this. And I'm doing this on purpose to minimize the bubbles because I want this piece to look crystal clear with no bubbles whatsoever. And there's many methods that I use prior to pouring to get rid of bubbles, but to continue to minimize it, I pour very slowly, and if I see any, that's when you'll see a spritz on the screen. There should be one coming up here in a second, and what I'm using is 91% rubbing alcohol, and I'll just do a light spritz to pop any bubbles that are that I see that are going to go down into the resin, so that way it comes out bubble free and crystal clear. Look at that pour. I mean, I don't know about you, but I could just watch pouring for days, whether it's color, whether it's clear. There's just something so satisfying about it. And I had this boat turned out perfectly, in my opinion. I was really proud of it. That doesn't often happen. I make a lot of mistakes, but this one I was really proud of. Look at that. It turned out so great. So what I'm going to do here is, just in case there's some little tiny bubbles at the bottom, I'm using a little bit of pressure and slightly pressing. I don't want to put too much because I don't want to create bubbles. So I'm just going to tap it in case there's anything clinging onto the sides, and you just kind of cross your fingers and wait and see what happens until it cures and it's time to demold. This is every resin maker's Christmas morning. Every time we create something, at least for me it is demolding time. Seeing how your project turned out. Did it turn out as you envisioned? Does it look better? Or did you make a mistake? Are there bubbles? And sometimes these molds can be a little tricky. Blooper. They can be a little tricky. This one is only the second time I'm using it, so it's a little tough. And as you can see, I kind of knocked the camera a second ago, but it's still fairly an easy mold to get out of, and everything turned out. There was not a single bubble to be had, and I'm extremely proud of myself. But like I said, this doesn't happen often, so of course I had to document it, and I just think it turned out lovely. I love the accent of the blue rope and the glass crystal quality that the resin has to it. It's one of my favorite things. I'll have more tips and tricks soon. I hope you enjoy this.